Smashing a leg is a distressing experience for anyone to deal with. But when you're up a dirt road, 25 kilometres from the nearest town, in a developing country, I didn't have the time or luxury to be distressed. I had just spent a wonderful week with Christian, my grown-up son, trekking off the beaten track through jungles and remote villages of Laos. We watched local farmers plough their paddy fields with ingenious machines that were constructed from archaic ploughs and a lawnmower engine, while women and children of the family followed behind, delicately planting rice shoots. And ducks waited, poking about for slugs and grubs in a perfectly organic system. Life moved at a slow pace here. At one village, we slept on the dirt floor of the communal rice barn and were invited to eat with a collective of community leaders from 3 of the surrounding villages. They were amalgamating to form a small town of 450 people, and they were working together to put in a water supply. As we squatted around a low table, sharing rice and duck blood stew from the same bowl, I was thankful that I carried my own spoon. I asked the guide if there was any beer that we could buy for us all, and 2 warm bottles were produced, along with 3 glasses. This is all that village had. I poured the beer and offered to the leaders first. And together we took turns drinking from these shared glasses, a toast being proclaimed before each person took their turn to drink. And I realized how a glass of beer is a luxury that we take for granted. Here, a shared beer became a solemn celebration. Piglets and dogs and chickens slunk about, sniffing for scraps, and a baby slept in a wicker basket with a mosquito net covering on a raised platform nearby. This large one-roomed mud hut was serving as a living space, a kitchen, a bedroom, and the local council offices. In other villages, we met a blacksmith and a medicine man and experienced a way of life that made the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum in Cultra seem positively futuristic. We made it back to Luang Prabang, Laos's second city. And the next morning I rose at 5 a.m. to watch the daily procession of Buddhist monks with their begging bowls in this place that seemed frozen in time. Christian and I decided to rent scooters and go to see a famous waterfall in the countryside, stopping along the way to photograph flowers and butterflies. And as I slowed down, I wobbled and I fell over, and Christian laughed at my comical dismount. But when I tried to get up, I noticed that my knee looked a bit displaced, and I thought, for feck's sake, I've dislocated this. My language is a little bit stronger than that. I wasn't able to stand, let alone get back onto the scooter. And with no phone signal, an ambulance was out of the question, even if there were ambulances. So Christian eventually waved down a tuk-tuk and asked the 2 German tourists if I could share it with them to get to a hospital in Luang Prabang. I literally had to hold together my ankle and my thigh as Christian and this German guy lifted me into the back of the tuk-tuk. The driver kindly gave me his cushion to put under my knee, but this didn't soften the expletives exploding from my mouth with every bump we hit on that long pothole journey back into town. As we pulled into the hospital, and I use this word very generously, we were directed to the Westerners Clinic. Driving through this dusty enclosure of ramshackle buildings, I saw queues of people sitting in the dirt waiting for treatment. One man had this splintered plank tied to his leg with what looked like baling twine, and I thought, oh shit. 2 men came over with a rickety hospital trolley and tried to lift me onto it. Now, I'm trained in manual handling. I work with children with disabilities, and I soon realized that these guys had no idea how to lift a patient. So again, I enlisted the help of the 2 German tourists on how to move me. And as I continued to stabilize my leg, muttering a succession of profanities, followed by apologies, for my foul language. I was wheeled the 10 metres to the clinic entrance when the hospital staff realised that the trolley didn't fit through the door. Yet again, I had to enlist these tourists to lift me off the trolley so that I could bum shuffle inside and along the corridor and into the x-ray room. Thank God they had an x-ray machine, albeit some kind of antique. I didn't usually do things by half measures, and this turned out to be more than a dislocation. Smushed is the word I would use rather than smashed, as I had broken the shin bone, the kneecap, and the thigh bone, and not a clean break either. In his limited English, the doctor, who was also the radiographer, told me, "Go to Bangkok and get your leg fixed." I tried to present him with my medical insurance card, but he didn't seem to know what I wanted him to do with this. I tried calling the number on the back of the card, and I got an answering machine, which told me that I should call the office back on Monday. This was Saturday. I would have to get sorted out for myself. I asked the doctor for some pain medication, and he gave me a baby aspirin. This was the best that he had. He got to work putting a plaster on the back of my leg, leaving the front open for the leg to swell. And he kindly said that he would phone Bangkok Hospital and tell them to expect me later that evening. Thank goodness for the World Wide Web. I checked the flights, and there was one that evening to Bangkok. I sent Christian off to see if he could get a pair of crutches, because we were going to have to get out of this ourselves. He returned with one child-sized wooden crutch that looked as if it had been borrowed from the Dickensian character Tiny Tim. A further exploration, and Christian managed to get a similar sized, made in China aluminium crutch. And after paying the vast medical expenses of $30 for the x-ray and treatment, I hobbled back to the tuk-tuk and we made our way to the small local airport, stopping briefly at the guest house to pack our things. At the airport, I found Laos airline stand. It wasn't difficult. I'd seen bigger bathrooms than this airport. I asked to buy 3 seats, one for Christian, because I was going to need a chaperone to get up those steps and onto the plane, one for me, and the 3rd seat was for my leg, so I could keep it elevated. The airport staff went into a complete fluster. They didn't want me to fly if I couldn't bend my leg the 90 degrees to fit normally into a seat. And I insisted in my firm's teaching voice that I needed to fly that day and that Bangkok hospital staff were waiting for me. Someone went off to find a member of the Thai airline crew. They were more experienced with international travel policy, and I was asked when had I broken my leg. I told them I'd done it earlier that morning, to which I was told I couldn't fly for at least 24 hours after a break. So I immediately retorted that I would like to purchase 3 seats for the first flight the next morning. And this seemed to placate the Laos airline staff, who told me that I could fly the next day, despite the fact that I still couldn't bend my leg. And this gave Christian time to go off and get stronger painkillers and carbolic acid for my foul mouth. The airplane reminded me of the Airfix models. It was small and barely held together. Managing stairs with crutches is not easy. Managing slippery metal aircraft step on wobbly crutches made for kids with a leg in plaster that can't bend is more than a little difficult. And when I realised how small the plane was, I began to see the perspective of the aircraft staff. People in Laos tend to be small. Now Christian is 6'1", and he had to sit with his knees up to his ears up to his knees up to his ears, and so 2 seats wasn't quite enough for me and my leg. But we managed. Arriving in Bangkok, I was met off the plane by the hospital staff from Bangkok Hospital, where my treatment and care were outstanding. I had a private room, a full entertainment system, an espresso maker, a fridge and a microwave, and decent pain relief. And after a week, I was flown home business class with 2 titanium plates, 21 screws, and a gift bag. It was better than the Swiss medical care where I had had treatment for another broken leg after a different adventure, escapade, which involved helicopter rescues. But that's a different rescue for another time.